Hi, I'm Carolyn Forster and I'm sharing with you the tips and tricks that I talk about during my classes when I'm teaching. So today we're going to look more at hand piecing, and something that I get asked about a lot is how do you set in pieces, how do you sew round corners when you're hand piecing. So the block we're going to look at is the little spools block, because you've got set in piecing here, but they're nice gentle angles. They're a really nice one to get to grips with to start with if you've not done a lot of set in piecing by hand. So the first thing you need to do is, with a spools block, is you'll be stitching the top and bottom to the square in the middle. So that's straightforward. It is just a regular straight seam. You then need to get I sew the background in then, and you need to pin that in. And I pin and work with the bulk of the block in front of me, because these are the seams that I want to know where they're going. I don't want them to get in the way. So let's get my pin cushion on, and we can pin these in. So you're matching up your lines, and you just take each piece at a time, each seam. So it's one side and it's straight. And we can pin that in. Pin in the middle. And across the centre. That's another little straight seam. They're all straight seams, but you just don't want to be overwhelmed by it. Pin that together. And then the final seam. And again, because you're working with the seams of the block facing you, it's easy to see where they're going and where they're going to pivot, where they're going to move round. So I pin all my seams into the seam allowance, and that means that before I've stitched, I can actually see what that block's going to look like. I can see that everything fits and that I've got nice sharp points at the corners. And so you start stitching. And again, you've got the bulk of the block in front of you. Take the pin out, start as you do with a knot and a back stitch. And then you're running along and we're approaching the corner. And so little back stitches as you go, every inch or so. And we're at the corner, and you can see where the pin is, and you just make a back stitch. And the back stitch comes out on the other side of the work. And you can bring the needle up at the beginning of the next seam, and all this is now out of the way. It's all been stitched and it's all in fact behind us, so we don't have to worry about that. And stitching along again towards our next junction. And you get to that pin, take the pin out and back stitch. You can come out on the back, and again move the seam allowance round and come out on the front of the work. And you're going to continue stitching along until the end of your seam. But in the meantime, you can look and see that you've successfully set or sewn round the corners of the stitching. There we go. So have a go with the spools block and see how you get on at setting in piecing.